The Eagles are through another preseason game and one step closer to week 1, but there are still some important ongoing battles in camp, and today we may have finally found the answer to these. We'll talk about one Eagles rookie who had an explosive debut against the Browns, all that and more coming up right here on A to Z Philly. Welcome on into the show. I'm RB, and I want to start it off real quick with a follow-up video, some footage from a couple days ago. I was away. We talked about the Landon Dickerson news. We were concerned. Then we got a huge sigh of relief with an update saying that he's going to have a minor surgery with his meniscus. Anyway, he ends up having the surgery, and the next day he comes out with a knee brace at practice, and he's cracking Miller Lights with the Cleveland Browns. So shout out to Landon Dickerson. Glad he's going to be okay and probably be good for most of the season. He may not play in week 1, but for a guy who has 3 Pro Bowls in 4 seasons, he's a rock. He's an anchor. You need him on this team. Now let's talk about some of the guys who are currently still fighting to be on the 53. The Eagles are playing the Browns right now. Similar to last week, I am recording this around halftime because, let's be honest, I saw all that I needed to see. There were some questions, some battles going into today that I wanted to take a look at. And yes, we're all absolute sickos for watching the second preseason game on a Saturday afternoon, but that's what we do. Nonetheless, here in the second half coming up, they're going to bring in the backups of the backups of the backups. And I mean, those guys are maybe trying to fight for a final roster spot, but most likely will be practice squad guys. Anyway, the players that we were keeping an eye on today, as Dave Zangaro says here, Sidney Brown, Andrew Mukuba, Kelee, Ringo, and Adoree Jackson. The cornerback and the safety are really the 2 spots that I still don't think have a definite answer or a definite solution, at least yet. So those are the guys that we looked at coming into today, and ESP followed up by saying Kelee, Ringo, and Adoree Jackson were starting at cornerback today, Sidney Brown and Andrew Mukuba at safety. Big day for all 4 players. Obviously, you don't want to get anybody injured. You saw what happened with Landon Dickerson. So anybody that is a for sure starter is not playing today. Even Tanner McKee didn't play, which is why this game was dreadful as it is. And I guess we'll just segue that right into the offense. This was some of the worst offense I've ever seen. I mean, I'm watching DTR, I'm watching Kyle McCord. They went on one nice drive at the end of the first half, but it was bad. It was pretty bad. So my declaration from this game is you don't trade Tanner McKee for anything. If the unfortunate circumstance came where Jalen Hurts goes down and you need another guy, Tanner McKee has to be here because DTR and Kyle McCord are not going to get it done for you this season. The pass protection was bad today. I get it. Other starters weren't playing, but they just really could not get it done consistently. So that's my takeaway on the offensive side. But defense is much more important right now. And Elliot Shorr-Parks tweeted this in the first quarter. Not ideal that a defense with Adoree Jackson, Sidney Brown, Mukuba, Trotter, Campbell, Uche, and Ojulari are getting picked apart. That's how this game started. For half of the first half, this defense was getting shredded. Shredded by Dillon Gabriel. Now, I'm not going to poo-poo some third-round quarterback, and I'm not going to say that he's going to be a star or a bust or whatever, but you and I could probably put together a better quarterback room than the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, who's now hurt, Shedeur Sanders is now hurt, Dillon Gabriel. The Browns don't know what they're doing, and I'm not, taking anything away from Dillon Gabriel, but he's not some, top-level quarterback, and he's picking apart your defense. Like ESP says, you're not game planning in these games, but guys have to make plays. Now, as the first half went on, they started to make a lot more plays. I was very impressed in the second quarter. The first quarter was mainly highlighted by Jahad Campbell's sack. We know Jahad Campbell should not have fallen to the Eagles. He's going to be an absolute stud, and I think he'll be a starter week 1. He's too good to keep off the field. We know about Jahad Campbell, but again, this secondary has to make plays. And finally, in the second quarter, we got the answers that we needed. Andrew Mukuba with a huge pick 6 in his Eagles debut. He has not played a lot. He has not had a lot of reps due to being injured. So we started to feel like the starting job was going to Sidney Brown automatically. However, Andrew Mukuba has put his name in the hat because here he is, right? A guy who had a breakout season last year at Texas with 5 interceptions. He finally gets to play and he makes 2 incredible plays in 8 snaps. Andrew Mukuba fights through traffic on the outside, baits Dillon Gabriel into a pick 6, runs it all the way back, gets everybody fired up on that defense, and then just 7 plays later, the Browns come out of the backfield, a guy coughs it up, and out of nowhere, Andrew Mukuba spots it from a mile away, comes over, scoops it up, and recovers a fumble. So 2 big turnovers in 8 plays, and that was an explosive, impressive debut for the young safety, the guy who the Eagles are expecting to really step in and try to win that job from C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's why they drafted him in the 2nd round. Like I said, you think about a guy who had transferred for his senior year, like he really wasn't getting that much buzz, and he needed to have a huge season, and he did, and that's why the Eagles invested in him so high in the draft. And if you look at the play right here, like I said, he baited Dillon Gabriel. It was so cool to see the anticipation here. As you can see, Mukuba on the back line of the defense right in front of the first down marker. He takes a step up, and Dillon Gabriel kind of hesitates for a second. And then he forces him to throw it off balance outside, and he picks it and runs it all the way back to the house. So big play by Mukuba, and then again, he recovers a fumble just 7 plays later. I love his energy. I love the way he's playing. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay on the field. But for the job coming into today that we were probably less focused on compared to the cornerback, I think Mukuba has a real chance to win that starting job now because Sidney Brown's been good, but he hasn't made a lot of those wow plays. Mukuba comes right in and makes 2 big wow plays and now has to make Vic Fangio think a little bit about which way they want to go in a couple weeks against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, again, maybe Mukuba doesn't get it done just because he hasn't played enough reps, right? And we saw Cooper DeJean come back week 5 last year, took him some time, but maybe Andrew Mukuba can actually start from day 1. So give me your thoughts on that big time game out of Andrew Mukuba. Now, I want to talk about the cornerback as well because we've been so fixated on Kelee, Ringo versus Adoree Jackson, and neither of those guys made any wow plays in the first half, but I was watching Jakorian Bennett, and he probably had the best pass coverage play of the game, the best pass breakup, while Drew Mukuba had the big highlight play. I thought watching Jakorian Bennett cover some of these crosser routes were incredible. Like, he was on these receivers like glue. His instincts are great. His footwork was great. And for a guy who started for the Raiders last year, who was losing reps, who got injured and had a surgery this past offseason, he looked really good. And I know he hasn't been with the Eagles for a lot of time now, but if he keeps playing like the way I saw today, he has a real shot to win that job from Kelee, Ringo, and Adoree Jackson. Kelee and Adoree were rotating again, drive by drive. It still doesn't seem like there's a clear answer there. None of those guys have really made wow plays. I'd say Keelee's stock has dropped more just based on some of the misses and how he looked in the first preseason game and how he looked in the joint practice. But if Jakorian Bennett can continue to get more comfortable in the Vic Fangio system and he makes a lot of good plays like we saw today, I think Jakorian Bennett could end up being the guy. So he has definitely entered the mix, in my opinion. And unfortunately, at the end of the first half, he got hurt. He tried to punch the ball out with his left arm. He took a helmet right to the bicep-tricep area. But as John Clark says here, he put his helmet back on, looks to be okay. He walked off. He was able to kind of move his arm a bit. So I think he's going to be fine, thankfully, because he's had an injury history with that shoulder. So you definitely do not want to see that. You want to come out of this preseason unscathed and everybody can be as healthy as possible for a few weeks out. So that's where we're at. A couple other takeaways in this game. I thought Ainias Smith had a nice couple of catches, nice touchdown catch as well. Like I said, a lot of the guys really aren't playing that much. Interested to see what happens at wide receiver 3. We didn't even really see Darius Cooper today. What does that mean? Is Cooper already on the team? Has he made it? He's been making play after play after play at practice and joint practice and camp. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had the green dot today. He's certainly turning some heads at camp. Obviously, they have a log jam at the linebacker position, something we never thought we would say in 2025. But, with Jahad Campbell and Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, might not be a lot of room for Jeremiah Trotter Jr., but special teams, right, and circulating in and out. So we'll see about Trot. Azeez Ojulari had a great rush on the outside, got to the quarterback and sent him down. It was really the first big play I've seen from Azeez Ojulari, so good to see him getting in the mix. Josh Uche still fighting with him for that potential edge rusher spot. And other than that, the Eagles had Montrell Johnson Jr. returning kicks today. So I still think that's an open battle, whether it'll be Johnson or maybe Anais Smith or Avery Williams, who still has had a very quiet camp. Certainly things to keep our eyes on. You can't put too much stock into this second preseason game, but the Eagles had an explosive debut from a young rookie. Andrew Mukuba was incredible today. Jakorian Bennett continues to make plays. Could those two surpass the guys who we have kind of already penciled in as potential favorites to start and really make this thing interesting in the next couple weeks? We will talk about it all. We'll break it all down. Give me your thoughts and takeaways from this second preseason game. As always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, I will catch you on the next one.